math, walang maiiwan. Math-sayang Math-aral tayo ng Math-tuto upang ika'y umasenso. Maging matyaga, maging matalino, halina Math-aral na tayo. Maging matyaga, maging matalino, halina Math-aral na tayo. Halina Math-aral na tayo. Halina Math-aral na tayo. Halina, 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 Math-aral na tayo.
Matsayang umaga mga batang mandunong at sa ating mga home learning partners. Welcome to Project SOAR, series of online academic review of mathematics grade learning modules. This is Teacher JEZA, a teacher from Andres Bonifacio Integrated School Senior High School Department, and I will be your lecturer for Quarter 4, Week 5 of Probability and Statistics. Are you ready? Let's start! For today, we are going to discuss Quarter 4, Week 5 of Probability and Statistics. And our lesson for today is testing hypothesis about population mean when the variance is unknown. At the end of the learning episode, you are expected to 1. Identify the appropriate test statistic. 2. Determine the rejection region for a given level of significance through the normal curve. 3. Compute for the test statistics value and compare to the tabulated value. And 4. Draw a conclusion about the population mean based on the statistics value and the rejection region. Let us first review the following concept. What is hypothesis testing? Hypothesis testing is a procedure used in quantitative research by statisticians to determine whether or not to accept the assumption about the population. What is null hypothesis? Null hypothesis is a statement stating that there is no significant difference between the population parameter and the value that is being claimed. What is alternative hypothesis? Alternative hypothesis is a statement stating that there is a significant difference between the population parameter and the value that is being claimed. It is also the hypothesis considered to be true once the null hypothesis is rejected. When is z-test for a mean appropriate to use? Well, z-test is used for the mean of a population when n is greater than or equal to 30, or when a population is normally distributed and the variance is known. When is t-test for a mean appropriate to use? T-test is used for the mean of a population when n is less than 30 or when a population is normally distributed and the variance is unknown. Let us now proceed to our lesson. So in hypothesis testing, consider the 5-step procedure below. So we have step 1, state the hypothesis and identify the claim. Step 2, find the critical values from the appropriate table. 3. Compute the test statistic. 4. Make the decision to reject or not to reject the null hypothesis. And lastly, summarize the result. So we have the t-test for mean. The t-test is a statistical test for the mean of a population. It could be used when n is less than 30 or when the population is normally distributed and the variance is unknown. We have here the formula in solving the t-test. We have t equals the sample mean minus the population mean all over standard deviation over square root of n. Okay? So the critical values for the t-test are given in t-table. So for one-tailed test, find the level of significance by looking at the top row of the table and finding the appropriate column. We find the degrees of freedom by looking down the left column. So I will show you a t-test or a t-table. Here is a t-table. So as we can see here, we have the top row. On the top row is the level of the significance, while on the left column, we have here the DF or the degree of freedom. Let us start with example number 1. Find the critical t-value of alpha equals 0.01 with degree of freedom of 22 for a left-tailed t-set. So let's take a look on our t-table. Find the 0.01 column in the row labeled as one-tailed. So here is the one-tailed row. So let us find the 0.01 column. So here it is. Ayan. And then, find 22 on the left column labeled as the degree of freedom or DF. So we have here, so if this is the column of the 0.01, a level of significance, the degree of freedom, 22, we have the critical value of 2.508. So there you go, 2.508. So the critical value is negative 2.508. So take note, class, that our critical value is a negative. Why? Because t-test is a one-tailed left test. Okay? Therefore, it is negative. Next one, example number 2. Find the critical value or critical t-value for alpha 0.05 with degree 16 for a right-tailed t-test. So let us go back on our t-table. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's look for the column of a 0.05 on the one-tailed row. Where is 0.05? Okay, it's in here. Okay, and then the degree of freedom is 16. So 16 here. There you go. So our critical value is 1.746. So the critical value is positive 1.746. So take note, class, na on this example, the critical value is a positive number. So since the test is a one-tailed right test. Okay, how about example number 3? Find the critical t-value for the significance level 0.10 with a degree of freedom 18 for two-tailed t-test. Okay, so let's go back to our t-table. So we find the 0.10 in the row labeled two tails. So in here we can see that there is the two tails, and let's take a look for the 0.10. So yeah, nakita na natin. And then we find 18 in the degree of freedom. So 18, there you go. So here is the 18 degree of freedom, and okay, so we have 1.734. So the critical values are negative 1.734 and positive 1.734. So since the test is a two-tailed test, we have both positive and the negative critical value. Okay? So are you now ready to solve? So we have example number 4. So let me read the problem. A job placement director claims that the average starting salary for nurses in USA is $24,000. A sub 10 nurses has a mean of $23,450 and a standard deviation of $400. Is there enough evidence to reject the director's claim at alpha equals 0.05? Okay, so first we write our given. So first we have the population mean, which is 24,000. We have the mean, which is 23,450. The standard deviation is 400. Our sample size is 10. And our significance level, or the level of significance, is 0.05. So to start, let us begin with step 1. State the hypothesis and identify the claim. So first, we have the null hypothesis or the claim. wherein we tell that mu equals $24,000. And we have the alternate hypothesis, which is mu is not equal to $24,000. So, since nagkaroon na tayo ng hypothesis, let us now move on to step 2, wherein we find the critical values. So, we have here the alternate hypothesis, which is mu is not equal to $24,000. Therefore, this is a two-tailed test. Okay? First, we must find the degree of freedom. To find the degree of freedom, we have the formula n minus 1. So, n, or the sample size, is 10. So, 10 minus 1, the degree of freedom is 9. So, let's go back to our t-table. Given that the level of significance is 0.05 and the degree of freedom is 9 for a two-tailed test. So, let's look on the row 2 tails and find 0.05. There you go. 0.05, and then the degree of freedom is 9. So the critical value is 2.262. Therefore, the critical values are negative 2.262 and positive 2.262. So here is the normal curve. We're going to plot. Now, let us determine the rejection region. Okay, so that we have the critical values, negative 2.262 and positive 2.62. So, we write here positive 2.62 and negative 2.262. Okay, so, okay, and then here is our rejection region. Okay, so we write that if the t-values falls here, we reject the null hypothesis. So this is the rejection region, and also on this part. While dito naman po sa gitna is the do not reject region. Okay, or the accept. Okay, now we move on to step 3, where we compute the test statistic. Okay, so we write the formula of the t-test, which is t equals, we have the mean minus mu all over s, or the standard deviation, divided by the square root of n. Okay, and that is 23. Our mean is, as you can see on the given, 23,450 minus mu, or the population mean, which is 24,000. Okay, so all over, what is our standard deviation? 400. So all over 400 over square root of our sample size, which is 10. And let us use our calculator and let us solve for the t-value. So 23,450 minus 24,000 all over 400 over square root of 10. And we have the t-value. T equals negative 4.3. Negative 4.35. So, let's now move on to the step 4, wherein we make the decision. So, since t is negative 4.35, so dito sa ating curve, na nasan siya banda? Nandito po siya. Okay? So, andyan si t equals negative 4.35. At nasan ba kasama si t? So, si t ay falls under the rejection region. Kasama siya. Therefore, what is our decision? Our decision is to reject the null hypothesis. And we now move on to step 5, wherein we summarize the result. And therefore, the result is there is enough evidence to reject the claim that the starting salary of nurses in USA is $24,000. Okay pa? So, ayan. Now, let's move on to example number 5. Let me read the problem. The management of Baliwag Lechon Manok announced that the average price of pork liempo in kilograms in Parañaque City is 109 pesos. However, a sample of 10 prices randomly collected from different stalls in Parañaque City showed an average of 195 pesos and a standard deviation of 9 pesos. Using a 0.05 level of significance, is there enough evidence to conclude that the average price of pork liempo of Baliwag Lechon Manok in Parañaque City is more than 190 pesos, assuming normality over the population? So let us first start with listing out our given. So first we have the population mean, which is 190. We have the sample mean, which is 195. We have the standard deviation, which is 9. And the sample size, which is 10. And of course, the level of significance, which is 0.05. Okay? So, meron na tayong given. Let us start with step 1. Ano nga po ulit yung step 1? State the hypothesis and identify the claim. So, first we have the claim or the null hypothesis, which is mu equals 190 pesos. And we have the alternate hypothesis, which is mu is greater than 190 pesos. Okay, so now that we have stated our hypothesis, let us now move on to step 2, which is finding the critical value. So, class, please take note on our alternate hypothesis. Our alternate hypothesis is mu is greater than, or the population mean is greater than 190. Therefore, okay po, this is a right-tailed test. Okay po? So, let's take a look on our t-table. We have first the significance level, which is 0.05, and of course, the degree of freedom. So, since we have the sample size 10 here, using the formula n minus 1, therefore, the degree of freedom is 9. Okay? So, let's take a look on our t-table. So, since this is a right-tailed test, we will look on the row 1 tails. Okay? So, the level of significance is 0.05. There you go. There is 0.05. And the degree of freedom is 9. So, here is the degree of freedom. 9. There you go. We have the critical value 1.833. So, therefore, the critical value is positive 1.833. So, again, our critical value is a positive number because this is a right-tailed test because the population mean is greater than. Okay po? So, let's take a look on the normal curve and let us plot or let us know where is our rejection region. So, we have here the positive 1.833. So, therefore, this is our rejection region. If the p-value falls on this region, therefore we must reject. And on this part, we accept or do not reject. Alright? Now we move on to step 3 where we compute the test statistics. Okay? So, first, let us write the formula for the t-test. We have p equals mean minus population mean all over the standard deviation over square root of n. Okay? So, we substitute. So, the mean is 195 minus 190 all over, what is our standard deviation? This is 9 over our square root of n, which is square root of 10. So, using our calculator, let us solve. 195 minus 190 divided by 9 over square root of 10. And the result is 1.76. Okay, so we have here t equals 1.76. So on step 4, we make a decision. So where is 1.76? So where does 1.76 fall? So nandito si 1.76. So t equals 1.76. And it falls under the accept region or sa do not reject region. Therefore, what is our decision? We have to accept or not to reject the null hypothesis. So since nakapag-decide na tayo to not reject the null hypothesis, we may now have a conclusion. So let us now summarize the result. Therefore, there is not enough evidence to support the claim that the average price of pork liempo of Baliwag Lechon Manok in Parañaque City is more than 190 pesos. That's all! Thanks for watching! If you have questions, feel free to send a message to our official page, Math Team, Mathematics Teachers Association of Mandaluyong, or send a message to your math teacher. Once again, I am Teacher JEZA, saying, Math-sayang Math-aral, tayo ng Math-tuto. Bye!